have no idea how I ended up here. I've just always been someone who helped people out and loved learning. I can remember playing school as a kid. I can remember always being the tutor for my friends in high school, and then in college I worked at the student newspaper, and I lasted one semester as a writer, and after that I was an editor, and I was always coaching writers. And so teaching has always been something that's come naturally to me, but it wasn't something I ever saw as a career. I was a reporter for a while, and then I went back to grad school because I was going to be the great American novelist, and that didn't quite work out, but I'm glad it didn't. So I had this master's degree in English, and on a whim called up Alamance Community College and said, hey, I'd love to try to teach a course. I have the requirements to teach here. And my department chair, Anne, saw something in me and gave me a class, and that was 11 years ago. And I think after the first semester, I was like, this is what I was meant to do. I love helping students. I love helping them figure out confidence in their writing, and I think writing is such an important skill. And it's something, I'm a really good cheerleader. And I'm good at giving people the practice they need to get proficient in writing. Being a teacher is being a jack of all trades. So I feel like I'm someone who's supposed to instruct and be knowledgeable about my subject matter, which is writing, but I'm also someone who needs to spot when students aren't doing well, when they might need to be connected with resources. So that puts me in counselor mode, advising mode, because the students are often writing about their hopes and dreams because it's English class, and they're writing about things that they're passionate about and issues they really care about. And so a lot of times then I'm in that role of advisor, of connecting them to organizations that are in the area that work on these issues, or helping them figure out what colleges have programs like this. Or in this is my creative writing class, hey, there's some online creative writing magazines that you could submit this to. You're doing a really good job. You should give this a shot. So a lot of times I'm a kind of a connector in my job. So I don't feel like it's just standing up and lecturing. Really, it's getting to know students, caring about them, and helping them reach their fullest potential. I prepare students to succeed in life by giving them a safe place to fail. So I think the most important thing that they can learn in school is how to fail and how to recover from that failure. So I talk a lot in my writing classes about I can't help you until you put things on paper. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if it has errors galore, but if it's in your head, I can't help you. You can come to me and tell me you have an idea and talk through it all you want, but until you put it on paper, I can't help you. And so I feel like it's really important to show them that this is a safe place to fail. And when the final judgment comes, I'm going to be a hard grader, and I'm going to be kind of that teacher that's there to tell you, did you succeed or not, and what are all these points, and where can you go better? But I always try to make this more of a community sense so that people feel like I can try some new things, I can take some risk, I can do some things that I've never done on the page before. And hopefully they discover something that they're really good at, or they discover a method that works for them that they've never tried before. One of the highlights in my career was actually this past semester. So I tried something new, which was using daybooks in my class. So they write into the day and write out of the day in all of my classes. And what had happened is I would give random prompts, and then some of them would be related to the papers we were working on. And last semester I had three students with 4 entries into our ACC writing contest. And all of them either came from their daybooks or for something we wrote in their class, and they placed in the writing contest. So it was really neat to see something that I wasn't sure if it was going to work or how the students react to, and see some real results.
Being a teacher from a selfish standpoint means that I can leave at the end of the school day and kind of feel good about what I've accomplished. I've got tangible goals that I'm shooting for, but what I've discovered over the past decade of teaching is the impact that it makes on other people. Not only just the students themselves, but their families. Being a teacher is almost like being a rock star, in that you can't go out in public and not get recognized by somebody. And I actually we have a running game with my family. How many people are going to run into tonight that we know? and that will stop us and say hi. And it's regular. It's every time and every day, and it's never a negative thing. It's always like something that's awesome and amazing. You know, I sometimes I'm told by other teachers that I'm a good teacher, and sometimes I look and try to see what do they see, because I'm just me. I try to be myself. High energy. I think having a really high energy level helps get students involved. I try to be entertaining, sometimes in a very stupid way. I try to show true enthusiasm for the subject that I teach. I think the students pick up on things like that. When a teacher really likes and enjoys what they do and the subject that they teach in, and they're passionate about it, they catch some of that, and they in turn become passionate. And it's not every student, but there's some that just latch onto that, and you've got them. The whole year that work for you, and they'll do so well. My biggest moments of joy are when some of my lower performing students, not necessarily pass tests, but achieve their potential. They push themselves out of their comfort zone. They're okay with occasional failure, so long as it leads to growth. But the thing that I love the most is to see a student exceed their potential and just totally stretch themselves and discover something new about themselves and what they're capable of. Something you may not know about me is that I have, on a personal side, I've completed an Ironman triathlon. Now, an Ironman triathlon is an event. I've trained years and years for this, but the day of the actual event, we went to Panama City Beach, Florida, where this event was held in November, and it consists of jumping in the ocean and swimming for 2.4 miles, and then climbing out of the ocean, getting changed into some biking gear, some cycling gear, and cycling for 112 miles on the bike, and then hopping off that bike and running a full marathon after that. It was one of the biggest personal accomplishments that I've kind of pushed myself to do. And you know what? It was my first one, and my goal was just to finish. I wanted to finish within 15 hours. Well, I beat that. I wanted to finish in 12 hours. I beat that. I finished in like 11 hours and 54 minutes. And it's sweet to hear your name as you cross the finish line, called out, "Jeff Bostic, you're an Ironman."
As a teacher, I try to bring a lot of passion, a lot of excitement, and I really don't think that they're going to sleep much because of my voice. So I'm very boisterous. I just want them to understand that if the teacher is so excited about what they teach, then they have no choice but to be excited about what they're learning. And to see their excitement, to wanting to ask questions, that's the biggest thing right there. I'm trying to get these students to get the courage to ask some questions. And I'm just hoping that I have the answers, because a lot of times when these students give us these questions, it makes me think, man, they are actually thinking beyond what I am teaching. And that is the first start of being successful in their life. And in order for me to see that, I think I take great pleasure in being a teacher in order to help them along their journey. I'm wanting to make sure that they understand that they can succeed at anything that they can do here. I believe that we've proved it here at Cummings High School. The state of North Carolina, we do these EOCs, biology is an EOC, where they have to take a state test. And the state of North Carolina predicted that the students at Cummings High School would only get a 1 out of a 5. So EOC is scored from a 1 to a 5 range. 5 means you're college ready. 1 means that you're very developing and have not mastered the curriculum. And the state of North Carolina predicted that the biology students here at Cummings High School would only achieve a 1. But we all know that they worked hard, our science department worked hard, and they achieved a level 4 which is the highest growth in the state. And the reason why I like teaching biology is, one, of course, is talking about eating and sexual reproduction. That's the best thing about biology. But at the same time, we're able to let these students know that they can succeed. If they're able to pass my biology course, then I'm telling them they can do anything that they want. And a lot of the students, when they come back after they take biology, they actually say, you know, this was a great cornerstone. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for, more importantly, thank you for letting me believe in myself. And because we may be considered to be on the other side of the tracks, but we're one of the best high schools in Alamance County. And I take great pride in my teaching and my co-workers' teaching in the school itself. The reason why I'm so passionate about biology is before I became a teacher and worked at the sheriff's office, I was actually a wildlife technician for a lot of different agencies, federal agency, state agency, and a lot of people say, man, I regret the time that I did this. During this time, there was 0 regrets in my life because, check this out, I was able to go around like about 5, 6 different states, work in the refuges. They paid me for a truck, they paid me a salary, they paid me some lodging, and I got to go out for about 2 to 3 years and able just to be out there with nature, watch all these animals in action, actually see what nature's all about and try to get away from the human population. And I think that right there kind of gave me the foundation of being able to present all this biology information to the students in a way that they understand it, because I was out there. I was like a nomad. I was homeless for the longest time because I just went from job to job, but that was my choice because I loved it so much, where they were willing to give me that chance to go out there and do the surveys and do the trapping and do all the technician job. And I want the students to get out, unplug, get away from their cell phones, get away from their tablets, and actually see what nature is all about. Because there's not that many people that's able to have that opportunity just to go out there and just reflect on your life, reflect on your job, reflect on everything, because that just right there makes you a whole better person.
I became a teacher because when I was like 14 or 15 years old, I saw the Ron Clark story. It's a movie. And I just became like obsessed with it. And I started researching him and just wanted to be everything that he was as a teacher. But I felt that there was kind of a stigma about being a teacher. And so I didn't want to admit that I wanted to be a teacher. And so I went to Elon and I majored in psychology. And at the end of my first year, I was just not happy, and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. And so I went and changed my major, and I remember sitting there like writing elementary education, and I never looked back. I never had felt more just confident in a decision I made, and I just knew it was what I was meant to be. And so Ron Clark really influenced me watching him, and then it just felt right. Being a teacher to me means that you're an advocate for students. Students just need someone that's on their side. They might not have that, and I just feel that being a teacher is that you need to find every way you can to get to them. If I teach a lesson and it doesn't work, it's my fault. It's not that the kids don't get it. It's that the way I'm teaching it isn't right. And so I think being a teacher is finding ways to help your students that might have to be different than what you're used to, and just advocating that for them in everything. It might be academics, it might be in social aspects of life. Anyway, you just need to be fighting for your kids. That's what being a teacher is to me. What gives me the most joy in teaching is when I see my students being kind to each other. I think at the beginning of the year, when they come in, some of them are unsure, like, who's in my class? Do I know this kid? And for example, like yesterday, one of my students had finally gotten a concept that they were struggling with, and my whole class just like broke out in a round of applause. And I just like, it just brings so much joy to me when I see them being kind, because I think it's hard to show that. Some of them are shy to show that. And I just know that that's something once they have, they'll take that with them. And so seeing my kids just being kind and loving one another is probably what brings me the most joy. I think the energy I bring to the classroom really makes me a good teacher, because it's kind of, a lot of kids are like taken aback by it at first because I don't think they've seen it, but also I develop really good relationships with my kids. And so this year, I taught all of these students in 3rd grade, most of them, and I looped up to 4th grade because I had built such great relationships with them and their families, and it's been the most rewarding experience because of the relationships I built. I'll go to their football games, I'll go to their basketball games, and I'm just constantly, making sure they know I'm there for them. And I feel like it shows in the classroom in their academics that they know I care about them as people. I'm so loud, like people have to shut my door a lot. I'm a very loud teacher and I'm very energetic, and just we sing and dance in here all the time. We are constantly like up and down and moving, and I'm just someone who is like, if I'm not energetic, my kids aren't gonna be engaged. And so I feel like every day it's like a show, and I'm doing everything I can to get their attention because it's so hard to make, main idea interesting to some 4th graders. And so any way that I can spiff it up and make it into a fun lesson is, I think, one of the most important things of teaching. And I may have to go to bed at like 7:30 because I'm just so tired, but I think it's all worth it. Something I don't admit to people is I love to play cribbage. It's like the card game with the board and the pegs. And my parents taught it to me when I was really young, and every time I go home, we have like tournaments, and it's very like old people kind of game. I mean, I love old people, but like, it's just not something I would like tell people. And when I find someone who can play cribbage, we play forever and hours. I love cribbage. It's so much fun.
I never thought I wanted to be a teacher. It seemed like a crazy idea, but as a student at Southern Alamance High School, my teachers there did a lot for me that their job descriptions did not ask of them. But they did it anyway. It certainly made an impact on me, and I decided to pay that forward. I was going to give that back, and I was going to give that back here in Alamance County. Growing up in Alamance County, this is home, and this is all I know. I never thought I'd stay here. I thought it was a small town and I had bigger dreams than that, but here I am. I think as a teacher it's helped me because I get these kids. I know what it's like around here. I know what the people are like. I know the culture. I know the atmosphere. But I also know that a lot of those students have big dreams like I did of leaving this place behind. And I don't make them feel bad about it. I encourage them to go off and find their wings and all of that great stuff. But the main thing is you can't go find those wings until you know your roots. And here in Alamance County, we've got strong roots. As a teacher, I think the kids would say that I'm probably pretty funny and that I try to be easygoing. I try to keep it real with them. I don't like to sugarcoat things, but I also like to be real about my expectations and about the stresses they have on them. And I try to just really have an open communication with them and build relationships. You build a good relationship with a student, they'll do what you need them to do in your classroom. Any time in the classroom that I can use music in a lesson, I do it. The kids, no matter where they come from, what their background or what their preference is, music moves everybody. They all have different types of music they like, so I try really hard to incorporate music. When I talk about Reagan and the conservative era, we talk about Tupac and some of his lyrics and how he was talking about the things going on in the inner cities in America. In my civics classes, they write songs about the branches of government. And I find that it opens up a creative window for the kids where they can express themselves in a way that a book or something on the computer wouldn't allow them to do. It gives them free rein to really represent something in the way that they want to. I prepare students for success by showing them what a failure might look like. Sometimes we want to use rainbows and puppies to show this beautiful world, but I think sometimes a little bit of tough love is helpful. When you show kids, well, if we don't do this and if we don't get to this success mark, this is what it might look like for you. This is what the future would hold. But if you'll work hard, if you'll do a little bit of this, then this is what you could have. I think I just prepare them for success by really showing them the alternative, but then when we have successes, even when they're small successes, we celebrate them. And it's different for each kid. It's not a one-size-fits-all. But sometimes when a kid just comes to school 5 days in a row, we're gonna get a high five and we're gonna get a piece of candy because, hey, that's a success for you. The kids think I'm a history nerd, and I'm really not a history nerd. I really just like people, and I like having a platform where I can impact young people. History is just a tool that I use to do that, but you know, I'm not really a history nerd.
I became a teacher because I enjoy seeing students succeed. I enjoy watching a student come into my classroom one way and then leave another. And so if I can help them achieve their goals, and that's what I'm here to do. I try to build good relationships with students. The one thing that I enjoy is a student coming into my classroom one way and then leaving the next. So if I'm back there washing dishes with them or we're cooking a meal, I get to learn a little bit about them, they learn a little bit about me, and it helps us build a trust. And when kids know that you care for them and they trust you, they will work hard. And not work hard for me, but work hard for themselves so they can succeed, so they can have a bright future. When they know you care, they'll work hard. Myself as a teacher, I love to go against the grain, break the rules a little bit, but in the right way. But I enjoy being creative and bringing creative things into my classroom. I've been blessed to have the support of administrators that have helped me to grow in that manner. So those creative projects and goals have led to great student success. So I've been excited about even working hard, but being creative in the classroom. I love going to the state fair with my students to see their faces and light up and we compete in the culinary arts competition, and some of them come out as winners. That gives me so much joy. Some students have never had the opportunity to go to the North Carolina State Fair, and so when we can go every year, that always brings me so much joy when we have that opportunity. And they go free of charge, so it's a great opportunity for them. What makes me a good teacher is not afraid to work hard. And understanding that when you have love in your heart for others, you can be successful. Because the student, I work for them, they don't work for me. And so I've always kept that in the back of my mind. So I've been successful because of that. I'm not afraid to get in the tank with the kids and go to war and to battle for what we want, because we're in a fight for our education every day in public education. So I'm so excited to be able to be a part of it. One particular highlight that stands out to me as a teacher is seeing a young man who was an undocumented immigrant who came to the United States when he was very young. Seeing this young man come into my classroom and blossom and work hard to become a national winning chef and paid his way through college. His story made my commitment to teaching that much stronger, because he didn't let the barriers in his life stop him. And we remain friends to this day. And so I'm so excited about his future, and I'm glad I was a part of it. My father had never seen me teach before. So one day, and the young man, Jonathan, who's a chef now, he was out there at Grand Middle School just cooking on my dad's grill. And he said, "Tiffany, I can see why you love these kids. These kids really care about you and you care about them." I said, "Now, somebody bother my youngins now, I'm gonna have to fight." But they do, and that's the one thing I'm so happy to be a part of.
Why did I become a teacher? Well, I didn't start out that way. A lot of my colleagues wanted to be a teacher from the time they were little girls and little boys, I guess, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be an astronaut, and then as a fourth grader, gathered as a group of children and watched the Challenger, and kind of broke my heart. And I didn't want to do that anymore because, that was a little bit scary. And then later on, I wanted to be a marine biologist, went to a couple camps about that. And it's when I went to, it's called the United World College. There's probably a dozen around the world right now. And I went to the one in New Mexico in the States. And I had an English teacher. Her name's Tyson. And she was tough. I mean, you want to talk about a tough teacher. She critiqued everything. She critiqued everything we did, but it didn't didn't deter me, it challenged me and it pushed me. And I'm from a small town in Oklahoma, and I'd never been pushed like that, and I loved it because I knew she was doing it for the good of her students. And she's the reason I became a teacher. She was passionate and she loved us, but she expected our best every day. And I knew, coming from that small town environment, that I wanted to have that same effect on my students one day. Well, we do a lot of things in STEM. We do a lot of things building and engineering. I'm also the AIG teacher. And when I do AIG lessons, I'm very particular about, especially reading, the kind of text that we choose. And I like to choose text that's socially meaningful, emotionally meaningful, not just going to teach the standards, but let's get a little meat into it as well. This year, my 5th grade students were doing a text, The Cats in Krasinski Square. And it's a picture book. And 5th graders are looking at this book going, why are you giving me a baby book to read? I don't understand. But the text is very complex. It has high vocabulary, but it's about the Warsaw ghettos during World War II. And that's a pretty deep topic for 5th graders. But it's done in a way that's accessible to them and not too graphic, not too much detail, but in a way that lets them dig into history and to see what mistakes were made, what we can learn from that, and how does that affect them, what can they carry out into the world. The book is about how a family is helping take food and sneak food into people in the ghetto. And they learned through that sometimes you have to take risks to do the right thing. It's not always going to be comfortable. The easy way is probably not the right way. And so I guess when I choose texts like that, my favorite lessons are the ones where the children can walk away and not just learn academics, but learn something about themselves and take that out into the world and apply it. I don't know if a lot of people know that I'm a farm girl from Oklahoma. I know how to drive a tractor. I've helped my dad work cattle. I've stomped through snow up to my, above my knee to go rescue cattle. We have a lot of grass fires in Oklahoma, and I remember one particular summer, my dad sent me, we couldn't find some of the cows. And one of my favorite barns, the Big Red Barn, the fire was behind it, and I know that I had to go, and I was responsible as, middle school kid, I was responsible for finding this cow, because that was our livelihood. That's what my dad did. And I remember finding it and getting it back up the hill, and just my dad saying, good job, and I think a lot of people don't know that that's my background. You learn so much from working on a farm. You learn work ethic, hard work. You learn that if you don't do it right, that you're going to have to go back and fix it again. So just that small town Oklahoma girl, that's who I am, and I'm not sure a lot of people know that.
I became a teacher because I really enjoy working with young children. I really enjoy seeing how far how much they grow over the course of the year, especially in kindergarten. I see children that come in, some may not even know the letters in their name, but by the end of the year they're writing, they are reading, they are ready to just embark on this journey of school. What makes me a good teacher, I think, is that I work very hard to make my young students independent. I try to help them. Anything that I think they can do for themselves, I'm going to ask them to do that. And that starts off day one with getting scissors to open their own snack instead of me opening it for them. And then that progresses to, I try to work very hard to make them strategic themselves. I try to transfer ownership of their learning over to them as much as possible. When we're at the guided reading table and a child is trying a new strategy, I'm going to say, are you right? And they need to know, are they right? And they need to know how to tell me if they're right. I want them to be able to know, yes, I'm right, and this is why. So I think just kind of transferring that ownership of their learning over to them and making them to be strategic and independent is going to bring them hopefully great gains in the future. Probably the most satisfying part of teaching kindergarten is definitely the growth that the children make over the course of the year. You have students who come into kindergarten, some who may only just know the letters in their name or may not even be able to write their name. And by the end of the year, they are writing, they're reading, they're decomposing team numbers. They are just doing all sorts of things that they were not able to do at the beginning of the year. And the wonder that they have, the kind of spark for learning that is going to carry them through is just wonderful to see. One particular unit of study that I really enjoy doing with my kids, their favorite part of the day is Writer's Workshop, and they love to create books and stories, but I think one of their favorite units in writing is informational writing. They love writing how-to books, they love writing all about books, and it's so much fun it's so exciting to help them to research their interests and create their all about books, and they can become experts on a topic and write about them. One highlight in my teaching career definitely is participating in reading recovery training. I was able to work as a reading recovery teacher for a couple years, and the reason it is such a highlight for me is that it was such valuable professional development. It really taught me the power of precise language with students and how important it is to know what you are looking for, know what you want your student to be able to do, and to be able to prompt for that so that they will in turn take the strategy that you want them to use and turn around and use it. So being able to work with struggling readers and undergo that professional development was a complete highlight for me. It's one of my favorite parts of my career.